All right, we're live, we're live, we're live. But girlfriends, this is Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry, and peace to all of you. This is exciting second time around going live on YouTube. So the word is out. We're live on YouTube instead of on Facebook. So all of you followers on YouTube, you should be excited because this, you get it live before Facebook do. I guess a girl kind of sort of. But anyway, let me just let you know if you're finding this even by accident on YouTube or you're on Facebook and you're seeing these two melanated women on your Facebook feed, let me let you know who we are. Well, this is Girlfriends Guide to Homeschooling, and I'm Angela Jordan Perry. This is a platform which gives voice to the African homeschooling diaspora and those who are of the marginalized homeschooling community. Okay, so it's hashtag we homeschool too. Our kids are thriving, they're doing well. We are a community that's growing as we're educating our own. And so that's what this platform is all about, where you can hear the joys, the challenges, the successes, the nuggets, the wisdom, the how-tos, the not-tos, the favorite things that these homeschooling moms or dads are doing. And they are here to encourage you to consider homeschooling or encourage you along the journey as you're already homeschooling, okay? So let me tell you just a little bit about myself. I am Angela Jordan Perry. I'm a homeschool mom of 8 children, 18 years homeschooling, 3 we've graduated through all the way to the end, 5 more, we're going to go all the way to the end. That's the plan. We make our home in the northwestern part of the state of South Carolina, where we are self-sustaining farmers. My husband and I, we've been married for 26 years. We're entrepreneurs. If we don't make it, we don't have it. So that's how it is. And so my purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide, and literally worldwide. We're worldwide now. So so exciting. This is my second international connection, and just really thrilled about that. And I'll tell you more about that guest. But that's my purpose-driven life, and I make that possible right here first in the state of South Carolina, where I provide legal rights for homeschooling families all over the state to homeschool. I'm one of many Option 3 Accountability Association directors. Apart from that, I have this platform and then a podcast called Girlfriends Chat, where I get with the interviewee and we get on the phone and we actually chat. And we dig in deeper into one of the conversational pieces of their interview. So that's what I do as well. We're on Tumblr, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, many platforms for you to get connected, and you want to get connected. Let me tell you, get connected with Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, okay? All right, so that's enough about me. I am so delighted, and I am turned up for tonight's interview. So turned up. So let me tell you first about our interviewee. So first, the question is, Karen.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready to make it happen?
I am so ready.
All right, let me tell you about Karen Ricks. And she has my mom's maiden name. So, Mom, she has your maiden name. How about that? We might be related. Who knows? To her husband, at least, right? Let me tell you, Karen is a Christian wife, Worldschooling mom, and a nomadic chef. Teaching for 22 years, she has been a Montessorian since her own preschool days. She holds Montessori teaching certificates for guiding children from infancy to elementary, to elementary school. Karen has cooked in professionally and restaurants, commercial kitchens, and private homes on 4 different continents over the last decade. After 10 years of teaching in central Japan, where Karen and her family owned and operated their own international Montessori school, they sold it all to begin a nomadic life of full-time travel. Karen spreads her message of embracing a slow food lifestyle, a lifelong love of learning and education for peace by teaching people of all ages how to cook for themselves and why they need to share that gift with those they love. And so you can find more about Karen's family and edible exploits and the lessons they are learning as they gallivant around the globe over at Our Kitchen Classroom over on Facebook, okay? So without further ado, Karen, I have just shared just a bit about you with these girlfriends and guy friends here. Tell us more about yourself and if there's anything else to share and how you actually got started in homeschooling.
Well, thank you so much, Angela, for the amazing introduction. I love your enthusiasm. I love the purpose with which you are living this amazing homeschooling life. And it's just incredible the way that you are giving so freely of your expertise and helping to connect other parents and families who are homeschooling with one another, providing them with the resources and things like you do. So thank you so much for having me here. Yes, as you said, my name is Karen Ricks, and I really kind of feel like I was born to do this. My mother was a teacher even before I was born, and I come from a family of educators. And so in a way, it feels like coming into this teaching as a career was something that I was expecting to do all my life. In fact, I kind of tried to avoid it for a while. And when I finally got into the classroom, my mother said, "Well, it's about time." I started teaching actually in a classroom setting in South Carolina, believe it or not. My husband and I lived in Columbia, and he still has family there. And we had such a wonderful, wonderful time there. The Montessori school at which I was teaching was a beautiful, beautiful place, still is, where children, again, starting from such a young age, growing up in the Montessori tradition. And while I was teaching there, I was actually in conversation with the director of that school about expanding the program that was there for preschool, elementary, to include an infancy program. It was something that I had always intended to do with my child, to homeschool, and being in a school setting that could possibly provide for that. We were talking about that when my husband and I made the decision to move to Japan. So that was in 2007, actually, that we left the United States for Japan. My husband was recruited to teach with the largest English language school in that country. And so we really thought, oh, it sounds like a really interesting adventure. It's something that we might do for a year, maybe two, if we really enjoy it. And we had even planned to come back. I was training my replacement in the classroom there in South Carolina, intending to come back after a year. And we loved it so much, we stayed for 10. So,
wow.
Completely unexpected. But during that time in Japan, our son was born. And that dream of educating our child ourselves was something that just never left. We had spoken with a number of different people who owned their own schools while we were there in Japan. And when our son was just 4 months old, we opened the International Academy of Matsumoto, our Montessori school there in central Japan. And that was where he grew up. That was what he knew. He has always had his parents as his primary educators. It was essentially the homeschooling that we always wanted to do. It was just, instead of doing it from our home and just with our child, we put it in a downtown building and open up the doors to invite lots of other people to join us too.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow.
It really was one of the most incredible experiences. We did so many wonderful things with the children. We had so much fun. And what we're doing now, our travels, our culinary adventures, it really all just kind of, that school, IA Matsumoto, was really the springboard for this, for what we're doing now, because the international education, the cultural studies, the language studies, just making lunch together every day, like we were doing with the children. That's what we do now as we travel too. It's just, instead of it being contained within the four walls of that building, we take it everywhere we go. And we are able to continue to connect not only with the friends and the families who shared the beginning of that educational journey with us in Japan, but also with all of the new friends that we make all over the world on our website at ourkitchenclassroom.com. So it's just so much fun to be able to have branched out from what we thought was going to be just a small little homeschooling thing with just our family to our community in Japan, and now literally globally. It's very exciting.
That's exciting. I mean, so on so many levels, exciting because and I guess maybe I shared the excitement just a small bit just this moment, just now. It's like you're living your dream. I mean, you you're with your family, your husband, you're traveling the world, you're meeting people all over, you're doing something you love, teaching, and you're cooking, you're a chef. I mean, that's just too perfect. How did you get that life?
It really, really is such a blessing. And
yes.
I thank God every single day, because you're absolutely right. We are living our dream. We made a decision, a long time ago, that we really wanted to not just tell our son, you can do, whatever you set your mind to, but to really live the example that we want him to follow. And that's really a big part of what we're doing here on this educational journey. It's not just him who's learning, but all of us.
Right. Yeah. So when you all moved to Japan, how long was your husband working the school, position before you actually started the school that you were in? What came first, or did they come simultaneously, or how did that happen?
No, it wasn't simultaneous. When we first moved to Japan, he was under contract with the English language school, and he taught there in their private school settings in a couple of different places around Japan. Actually, the school that he was recruited with had some very serious financial difficulties not too long after he first moved to Japan. And so he ended up getting a job with another school, a smaller school in a smaller town. And I came to join him about 6 months later. And he worked in that private English language school setting for a couple of years, and also in the public schools in and around as a contractor for another smaller private school for a couple of years. And it was in 2011 that we first opened the doors to our own school. And it was such an amazing journey. I had been teaching privately in conjunction with a Japanese friend, doing little community center classes, mommy and me kinds of groups. And it was the families from those groups in the different community centers that were the first families to join us in our international school.
Oh, wow. So, okay. Did you learn Japanese to be able to do what you did and started the school, or did you it was English speaking and everyone came and they became English? What was the setup for that?
Well, our school had English as the language of instruction. And that was something that was a little confusing for people at first, because there weren't any schools that looked like ours in Nagano, which is central Japan, where we were located. There are loads of international schools in the major cities, in Tokyo and Osaka, Nagoya, but we were about 3 hours outside of the Tokyo area. And so there was really nothing that looked like what we were doing. We weren't teaching the English language just to be learning English, as the English conversation schools did around us, but we were teaching everything: reading and writing, math and science, the cooking, all of the things that we did with the food in English. And we conducted business in Japanese, in English. We had not only an international student body, but also an international staff as well. And so it was really a synergistic coming together of people from all over the world that helped make that happen.
Wow, that is so amazing. So amazing. So tell us, your son is how old now, Karen?
He is 7.5.
He's 7.5, and you've pretty much been schooling, you told me, his whole life.
That's right.
what age, if you will, that you would kind of say you officially started this homeschooling journey with him?
You know, it's interesting because it really was from birth with him. We had these ideas that we were going to be his primary educators, that he was going to learn with us. We were all going to learn together as a family. I think the fact that my husband is also born and raised in the United States, like I was, it gave us our own sort of unique little English bubble in our home in Japan. And so we had our own special family unit. And then we also created a wider sort of circle in our school within Japan as well. And so that really helped us to encourage and support one another in our learning. My husband and I really didn't speak much Japanese when we actually arrived in Japan. So the process of learning the Japanese language was also a huge part of our educational journey, and something with which our son was intimately involved from birth as well. And that was a big part of what helped to create the supportive international community in which we were able to raise him in that setting as well. I attended Japanese language classes at a local community center that was not too far from our home. And many of the other mothers with whom I made friends in that group eventually became families that were members of our school, even some of our support staff. So yeah, it all really came together for that amazing educational purpose. And
Gotcha.
we were really blessed, even after beginning our world travels, to be able to go back to our son's hometown and spend some time with those friends and our family in Japan, really.
So, I mean, this is my first question always is how was your first year getting started with homeschool? And so, as you tell me, you've been doing that your whole life. Maybe that's hard to answer, but how was it when you first got started? Did your background, I'm sure, did it help you transition into the type of homeschooling you wanted, or was it a hindrance? Did you have to change? Tell us, was there a huge transition in that?
The big transition for us was collecting and gathering all the materials to outfit our school. We literally took over the second and third floors of this huge downtown building. And the first floor was a family-owned bakery. So this was an enormous undertaking, even more so because, as I said, when we got started, our son was only 4 months old. So we began evaluating the space just 2 months after he was born, and the process of collecting materials and setting up and marketing and moving everything and all that. It was kind of wild. But in terms of the actual educational part of it, the teaching, the learning, that was really a lot like what my husband and I had been doing the entire time that we were in Japan. We were making friends, as I said, on the go. And those first families to join us at our school were moms and their children who had been a part of the Mommy and Me English Circle that I had been teaching in different community centers around town. So it wasn't like it was really anything new that we were doing. Mm-hmm. It was us taking it to a different setting. It was us kind of transitioning from, okay, this is just songs and games that I'm going to play with mommy, to, oh, I have this whole big classroom with materials that I can explore on my own, and really guiding the children in that process of discovering their own educational independence. And that was really a beautiful experience for me because it was something that I had been working up to kind of all along. And having these other children with whom I had already been working and guiding them along in that process, it was like really kind of easy to incorporate my son into that group as well. And just kind of, they were all my children, you know, they were all my babies. And we all were just doing this wonderful, fun thing together. In the Montessori tradition, the the school is not really referred to as like, a classroom, but Montessori called it casa in Italian, just like in Spanish, which means a home. And her children's home was really the place that the children took ownership of. And that was what I really took the greatest joy in seeing, was the children taking ownership of their learning environment. It was their space, and they helped to organize it and rearrange it and decorate it and care for it and look after it. And it was a really beautiful thing.
That is so neat. So neat, neat, neat. Oh my goodness. Let me let you know, girlfriends, for all of you who are joining here live, you can ask questions in the chat. We got this cool little chat platform here. So if you have questions, please ask them and we'll get those to Karen. And also find the link and go share it, share it, share it, share it, to get it out to your other girlfriends so that they can hear this, these nuggets and insights that Sharon is going. So this is gonna, I don't want to make it super long, but I sure want to eat up every moment we can get from Karen. And it's 1 o'clock in the morning there, but I want to get so much from her. So Karen, thank you so much for your grace. So many questions.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us, what is your daily habit in homeschooling and this world schooling atmosphere that you have for you all?
Oh my goodness, that's always such a difficult question because no one day is like another. In each new country in which we live, each new place that we travel, our schedule changes. Things start earlier or later. We really commit to having different responsibilities, not just in our home and with one another, but within the communities in which we reside. And so it's really so very different in different places. We have been on farms. As I told you, I thought that was a wonderful aspect of your homeschooling journey. We love farming and really being close to our food sources. And so we've spent time on farms in Sicily, in Italy, in Australia. We spent some time there in Queensland, and also on a dairy farm on the northern coast of New Zealand. And as you know, farm days can be early days. They can be late days. You're up and down with the sun. So our schedules were drastically different there than, for example, what they looked like when we were in Mexico. We spent 6 months on the Pacific coast of Mexico in Nayarit, just about an hour or so north of Puerto Vallarta. And there we were close to the beach, and we engaged in a lot of community activities. We got to know restaurateurs and spent so much time in the local church there. So our schedule commitments there were drastically different. We didn't have early mornings. We had more late evenings and afternoon commitments in the community, that sort of thing. So it was very, very different. What is the same, though, in every place we travel is some core kind of family time activities. We share meals together. So once everybody is kind of up and moving around, we all have breakfast or brunch together, depending on what time of day we get going. And we always have dinner together. And we love just relishing the process of sitting back and enjoying our meal times together and discussing what we plan to do for the day, or what things we have done during the day, and what things we would like to accomplish in the coming days. In fact, we spent breakfast conversation this morning talking about some of the interview questions that you usually ask to your guests, and discussing some of our differing answers too for some of our favorite moments in our homeschooling, world schooling journey. So it's a really, really valuable time that we just enjoy spending together. And that's the same no matter where we go.
Beautiful. Gotcha. So just for the sake, because this is not normal in the questions, and we didn't really say this in the intro. So sure. All the places that you have traveled, what took you to these places? Was your husband's English speaking, or was the chef, or cooking? What took you to all these places all over?
Well, food has really been kind of a driving force in all of our travels. We initially left Japan to start our travels in Italy because I was accepted into this amazing program at a cooking school in Sicily. And our 3 months there was all about food. And all of the other locations, it's been a variety of different things, but taking advantage of the food resources, the food knowledge, the cooking, the learning, that's a key part of our travel, no matter where we go. The longer we do this, the more friends we're making in different parts of the world. And so our last venture, when you and I were organizing this particular interview, we were in Italy once again. We had made friends with some other world schoolers in Tuscany. And so we were spending, it was almost a month, at this unbelievable Tuscan castle just east of the Florentine Hills. And it was just beautiful. And as I said, the connections that we're making, the longer we do this, the more people who find out about our journeys and are excited to learn more about what we do and share more of what we do. We're getting invitations all over the place. So it's exciting to be able to reach out, to make new friends and take advantage of those opportunities all over the globe, however they present themselves.
Beautiful. And so all of you, just to let you know, just days ago, she was in Italy, and now where are you, Karen?
Now we are in Tirana, Albania.
She's in Albania that quick. It was just like, what? I thought you were packing up to move. She's like, oh, we're here already. Oh, how did that happen? So, and what is your time that you're being in Albania?
Well, we have literally just moved into our apartment here in Tirana in the past couple of days. So I'm coming to you live from my new kitchen here in Albania. It's kind of crazy. We plan to be here for at least the next 6 months, maybe as long as a year. And we're going to use this location here as our jumping off point to explore and investigate and take advantage of other opportunities all over Europe. And after that, who knows?
Yeah, cool. Well, let me ask you this question. This is my favorite question because it brings us all back to this place of humanity. You know, people can see you like, oh my goodness, they're like, oh, these world travelers, untouchable, perfect life, blah, blah. But here's the perfect question for you.
Okay.
Karen, take us to your worst day of homeschooling. The day that almost you like, you know what? I know we're moving all over the place, but if anything, you quit for the day, maybe quit for the week. Maybe you really thought about quitting. Take us to that day that almost made you quit, but you didn't, and you're still this world schooling family that you are today.
Yeah, we're still here. We're still doing it. And there are definitely challenges at times. I think the biggest challenge was actually in the early years of our school in Japan. As I said, what we were doing, having an international Montessori school in central Japan was a brand new thing. There was nothing that looked like what we were doing in our community. And we spent a lot of time explaining to people what we were not. And so a couple of years into our school journey, we actually had like a big kind of come to Jesus meeting with the parents and families at our school, where we really took the time to clarify, this is who we are. This is what we believe. This is why we do what we do. And it was kind of painful because during that time, we discovered that there were many families who had kind of come along for the ride, but were not really on the same page with the different sort of educational path we were following. What we were doing did not look like any of the public or private Japanese schools. It didn't look like the English language schools that many parents and families were used to. And the realization that we were not going to change who we were or how we were teaching it came as kind of a shock to some families. And so we had many families who decided to leave our school. And that was really painful, both personally as well as professionally. As I said, so many of the children that pass through those doors, they're like my own children. I reared them out of diapers, just like my own child. And so to have them leave, it was really challenging. And my husband and I had to really sit back and question, is this something that we really want to continue to push on to do when what we're doing really does look so different from what everyone else around us is doing? We, without the same number of families continuing to support our school, it was challenging financially. But we knew that it was more important to stay true to who we are, to what we believe, and to what we value, not only in the education for our son, but the education of all of the children, all of the parents, all of the families that came to us. And so we decided we were going to press on. We were going to continue doing what we were doing, and we were going to shout that message even more loudly and more clearly about who we are and why we do what we do and why we feel it's so important. And that has been a really, really valuable lesson that we carry even now in our international travels. So very important. It was a very tough process to go through, but coming through it on the other side made everything that we did after that time even that much sweeter. It was, we knew that the families who continued with us beyond that point, the families who came and joined and supported our school after that point, were really on the same page. We were all really one big family. And that made the learning journey so much more enjoyable.
Beautiful, beautiful. So contrastly, Karen, take us to your most memorable moment of homeschooling that, just thinking about it brings you to tears. I mean, just moves your heart. And you're like, this right here, and maybe this is your everyday life, I don't know, but this right here is why we homeschool and do what we do, this right here. Take us to that moment in your homeschooling journey.
Oh, goodness. There are so many moments that I can look back and say, oh, yes, this is why. And this is one of the fun things that we had over our breakfast conversation that I was telling you about this morning, because for my husband and for my son, the first things that popped into their mind were something related to cooking and sweets and science. And I was like, wow, really? That's your moment? And they're both like, oh, yeah. My husband talked about the way that we were making pavlovas shortly after we landed in Australia. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, pavlova is like a whipped meringue sort of a dish. And we had so much fun, like with the separating of the eggs and the whipping of the egg whites and the science of how all that comes together. And it wasn't just about eating sweets, although we all do kind of have wicked sweet tooth, but the science and the fascination with the cooking science involved in that process, that was what really stood out to my husband. And it was just a really, really memorable part of that journey. And for my son, it was actually something really similar. It involved the emulsions that came together. I asked him, what was your favorite? What really stands out as, oh yeah, that was like the perfect day. And he said, kick the can. And I thought, wait, you mean that game that he played? He said, no, mommy, when we had the ice cream in the can. This is something that we've actually done in a few different places, but we did it a couple of times with our school children and just as a family in Japan, where you make the ice cream base and then it's actually like a can encased in another can. And rather than using a traditional, or hand crank turner or a machine to turn, it's all wrapped up. And then you kick it around like a soccer ball. Gotcha. And the process of the moving and the shaking, it churns the ice cream. So you have this fun of, actually kicking the can around like a ball. But you also get a chance to hear the rattle and the shake of the salt and the ice. And you can feel how cold it's getting. And then when you're done playing, you've got this tasty, cool treat. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Neato. I want to see that. That'd be fun for my kids. That's neat.
It is. It's really a lot of fun. And it's a great game to play with, great groups of children and adults.
Beautiful. That is so cool.
As I said, it usually does come back to food when we're having these discussions. But I found it really interesting to listen to your previous guest, Tara Omotosho, just the other day. And she was talking about being able to share financial education with her children. And the moment for me that really stands out as like, yes, this is why we do what we do. It encompassed that sort of financial educational aspect for me. My son was 4 years old, and we had just come back to the regular school schedule in Japan from summer vacation. And during the summer, we had been playing all sorts of games. He had gotten excited about counting money, which he'd been doing with Japanese currency, you know, from a very young age. But he was really fascinated by numbers and really fascinated by money. And he wanted to learn how to count like bigger quantities of money. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, we can do this. So we had gotten a Monopoly board game. It was a Monopoly Junior that we had shared when going to a friend's birthday party over the summer. And the children had fun playing that game. But afterward, he came to me, Mommy, and he said, you know, that was good, but how am I going to make any big money if I only have $1 bills? I said, oh, goodness. Okay, he's ready for some more serious stuff. So we got the classic Monopoly game. And over that summer vacation, we played hours and hours of Monopoly. He is so competitive, my child. It's really kind of funny to watch how he just throws himself into this game. And he was determined to make the most money, to win the game. But after going through Monopoly Junior and the classic Monopoly, he still wanted more and more. And many, many years ago, my father had shared a great resource with me. It was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. You're shaking your head. I know you're familiar with that. Well, Robert Kiyosaki and his wife, Kim, had put together this board game called the Cash Flow Game. Mm-hmm. And that summer, after graduating from Monopoly Junior to the classic Monopoly, our son got into the Cash Flow Game. And for those of you who are not familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or this game, this is like a Monopoly on steroids. You don't just buy houses and hotels to collect rental income, but you have to evaluate houses and condominiums and businesses, paper investments like stocks and CDs and all sorts of things in order to generate passive income to get out of the rat race and buy your dream out in the big wide world. And we were playing this game like on a daily basis during that summer vacation. And it was time to go back to school. And Christopher was like, oh, Mommy, does that mean I can't play the game anymore? I said, well, no, you can play the game. He's thinking, oh, yeah, I'm playing games at school, not even thinking about all the math that he's learning at this point. So I'm so excited about this because I just recently shared a couple of pictures that I had taken at that time. And he was so engrossed. At 4 years old, he's doing his math on the chalkboard, practicing long division so that he can figure out how to spend as much of his cash as possible to buy these paper stocks so that he can then sell them when the stock price rises, and he'll have more cash on hand to purchase rental properties, to make passive income. He's just so engrossed in this. And he asked me one day, he said, I wonder if the game will let me like earn even more money. I said, what do you mean? You have like $1 million there on the game. He said, I want to be a billionaire. And I said, well, I don't know. Go ahead and find out. And one day, at the age of 4 years old, this child spent the entire 6-hour school day engrossed in this game until he had $1 billion. And he just blew my mind. That's right. I was like, yes. And I was watching him, kind of peeking in, trying not to disturb him during the course of the day, checking in on him as the other students had been doing their lessons. And he had tried to introduce some of the concepts of the game to his other classmates, and they weren't really into it. He's like, oh, it's okay. I'm going to go back to earning some money here. And he was really pushing it. It was approaching the end of the school day. And he's like, I'm almost there, Mommy. Just give me 5 more minutes. I'm going to earn some more money here soon. I'm going to do it. He put his mind to it. He put his head down. He didn't do anything else that entire day, but he earned $1 billion. And I was just like, wow.
4 years old. That is
4 years
crazy.
Old. I said, yes, that is why we're doing what we're doing, because especially when it comes to things like a financial education, something that I'm passionate about, food and cooking, learning how to source and prepare your own ingredients, the key essential components of being an independent adult. These are just not things that are taught in a traditional school setting. And for us, for me and my husband, for our family, for the family's lives that we touch, that is just as important as reading and writing. And so we want to be able to spend as much time as possible on those things as well, to demonstrate with our time, with our lessons, with our focus, that these things have just as much value as anything else that you might learn.
Absolutely.
So that for me, that was the day my 4-year-old became a billionaire.
Yes, that's amazing. That is beautiful. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Kudos, guys, because he's going to learn. He's going to do that in real life. That's just the game. He's going, okay, I can figure this out right now. Let's do it for real. So, I mean, that's right. Love it, love it, love it.
Exactly.
But girlfriends, here we are. This is Karen Ricks out of Albania. You know, I was going to say Italy, but no, it's from Italy. Just day transplant to Albania, you all. Worldschooling mom and her husband, along with their son Christopher, now in Albania for a period of time. And they're homeschooling, and she's sharing her wisdom and nuggets and insights and just the excitement of her life. So you all be sure to share this this platform, this video, share it with a friend, and just enjoy it. It's just been just a thrill to my heart. So as we transition to the second part of this show, Karen, these are going to be some questions to pick your brain. You can give 1 or 2 sentence answers to them. So you all, here we go. So Karen, tell us, what is your favorite quote that helps you through this homeschooling journey?
Oh, goodness. You know, I have been telling our story more and more recently, and I keep hearing from people, I didn't know that was possible. You can do that? Wow. And it's a reminder to me how important it is for us to share what we do, because without exposure to these kinds of options, so many people don't realize what is possible. And so I would have to say that my favorite quote, it comes from the Bible, from Matthew 19, verse 26. With man, all this that we're doing, it does seem impossible. But with God, all things are possible. And it is absolutely by the grace of God that we are able to do everything that we do. So, with God, all things are possible.
Yes, absolutely. So with that, I have to deter. I'm so sorry, y'all. These are supposed to be quick questions, but tell us how, if someone wants to do this. Maybe I say that for last. I say that as our last question.
Okay.
Then you can delve in. But let's go back to the quick questions to pick your brain. Do you plan to homeschool your son all the way through to the end?
That's a challenging question, because I have had some what I thought were very purpose-driven plans for what I thought my life was going to look like, our family life was going to look like. And God had very different plans. I never planned to live in Japan. And, after my husband and I did that, it didn't seem like such a big deal to pick up and move to Italy or Mexico or wherever. I never planned to travel full time like we are. And as I said, each and every day, God is bringing new opportunities to our doorstep. We have always planned a non-traditional or an alternative sort of education for our child. And each and every day, as we watch him learn and grow, we are excited by what we're seeing. Do we plan to do this forever in some way, shape, or form? Absolutely. Does that mean he will never attend a traditional school? Only God knows that. But we will continue to learn and grow together no matter what.
What is something that's unique to your homeschooling that you all have implemented where you can say, this is what the Ricks Worldschooling homeschooling do? What is it that makes you all so unique besides the fact that you're traveling? I mean, that's big enough. But is there something you can tell us that this is what you all do as a Ricks family homeschooling?
The travel is a huge part of it, but an even bigger part of it is the food. As I said, I am a chef. I am passionate about food and cooking, and that is something that our child has grown up with as well. people ask me, well, when did he start cooking with you? And I can recall a time when he was still just an infant in the sling, you know, wrapped around me, reaching out and stirring with the spoon with me over the stove, you know, before he could talk or walk or anything. So just like with our kind of homeschooling, world schooling journey, that's been something that he's been doing almost literally since birth. One of the key ways that we are able to connect with languages and communities and cultures as we travel around the world is through the preparation of the local food, of the dishes that are traditional in these different regions. And so food preparation is really not just near and dear to my heart, but it is an essential component of our learning and the way we do things. One of the reasons that I started taking so many pictures and blogging during the course of our time in central Japan with IA Matsumoto was because outside of the school setting, you know, I would tell people, oh yeah, you know, we were doing such and such at school with the children today. And people are like, you did what? Oh no, children can't do that. And I said, well, sure they can. We do that all the time. Hang on, let me show you a picture. And I would take pictures. And more, as I started to share some of these photographs, people were like, oh, wow, you know, I'm an adult and I've never done that. You know, I've never baked my own bread or made my own pasta or, you know, cooked a whole bird, all of these different things that people had never considered as a possibility. And what's so amazing to me is that cooking as an educational experience really, it just encompasses the whole gamut. Every single sense is involved in the process. You know, you see and you touch the actual foods. You know, you have a chance to smell them, which activates, you know, completely different neural centers within the brain and is really deeply connected to our memories. You have a chance to literally eat what you create and getting involved, getting your hands dirty in that process from start to finish. It's such an amazing and liberating adventure, especially for children, but for adults when they dive in, and it's just so much fun too. So that is definitely a unique part of our homeschooling, world traveling educational experience.
I laugh, Karen, because you probably would be like, Angela, it's not possible. Who are you? But I don't get, I love your enthusiasm for cooking because I don't have that enthusiasm for cooking. I'm like, wow, she makes that sound exciting. Am I missing something? Because I feed people because they have to eat, not because I love it. You know, I'm like, good, you know. So, man, I what is that? Laud you
Oh, no,
for
no.
having
Don't
that.
feel bad. You are certainly not the only person to express to me that they just don't love cooking. And I understand that. This culture in which we're living right now, all over the world, there is so much like food programming on television. You know, so many, like, I mean, chefs are celebrities, right? And people follow what they do because they want to know this person's tips and tricks and, you know, creating world-class, like 3 Michelin star restaurants, you know, where people pay thousands of dollars for a meal is this amazing multi-sensory experience. And in some ways, I love that because I'm the type of person, I watch that stuff and I was like, oh yeah, I want to try that and I want to do this and that. And we do those things in our home. But by the same token, it also seems to make it almost unattainable for, you know, everyday home cooks. You're like, well, yeah, that's great. You know, they've got this like liquid nitrogen in their kitchen and this, you know, ginormous oven, and they've got a farm with the cow and, you know, the fresh whatever out back. So of course they can do that, but I can't do that here. And that's part of why I'm so passionate about teaching what I teach, about doing what I do, because anybody can do it. Anybody, I think, should do it. It doesn't mean I think you have to drop what you're doing and spend 3 hours baking your own fresh bread every day. No, but getting your hands dirty, getting in and just like kneading the dough and having that experience, even one time, it really just enhances your appreciation for what it takes, for all of the people and the resources that are involved in getting that food to your table. And I think that is something in this fast-paced world that we should all really just slow down just a little bit and take advantage of.
I hear you. I hear you, Karen. All right. Tell us, what is a book that you have in your home, in your library, that you feel like every homeschooler, homeschool family should have?
Oh, goodness. That's a challenge because books are heavy. And so we actually divested ourselves of, the massive library that we had accumulated over 10 years in Japan. We do still travel with a few books. And one of my favorites is a very small Montessori guide that just helps to remind me to come back to the basics sometimes. Like I said, about how the multi-sensory experience of doing simple, everyday things like sweeping the floor or making a meal or going for a walk has educational value. And while from a Montessori perspective, that is traditionally focused at young children, I know from my personal experience that it has value for all of us when we take the time to be really and truly intentional about what we're doing. But aside from the books, we have so many online resources that are making our journey each and every day just so much more, kind of making the world accessible to us. It might sound kind of strange to say, but I'm actually relatively new when it comes to social media. I had avoided Facebook on purpose for years because I kept saying, I don't have time to just, play around and, chat with people, whatever. But when we made the decision that we were going to leave our home in Japan, I really became more intentional about utilizing things like YouTube and Facebook and even just email as a resource for making and maintaining the relationships that we have around the globe. And so through Facebook, that was how, for example, I was able to meet you and find out about the Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling. I have been able to connect with Worldschooling. People who have more questions about that can search Worldschooling on Facebook. There are lots of Worldschooling groups, including a great friend of mine who's also named Karen, who runs Worldschooling Central and helps to connect people and places and resources. There are parenting groups, and especially in our journey, bilingual and multilingual family groups. So raising bilingual and multilingual children has been a resource that helps to connect us to other families who are looking to educate their children in ways that might be slightly different from the community in which they live. And being able to connect to other homeschoolers, world schoolers, travelers, people who love food. It's exciting for me because I feel like we are living in a magical age of connection. We have the opportunity, just like our family has, from going from our school in this small building, in this small community, to literally making these connections worldwide when we use the resources at our fingertips. And so, yeah, if you don't mind, I would be happy to share some links to a few of my favorite groups and people who can really help others make those connections. And
Sure.
I'm excited to be able to share your group, your resources with all of my fans and followers as well.
Yeah, please. So we'll make sure Karen put all that information in the comment section so you all can attain them, at your fingertips. So they'll be right there. I'll make sure she get that done. So,
Yes.
All right, well, Karen, here's our last question, our $1 million question. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. If you had to start all over again, Karen,
yes,
to your first day of whenever that was, homeschooling,
yes,
you have your current wisdom, knowledge, your experiences, your skills, your insights and wisdoms. What would be the first thing you would be sure to implement this time around, or make sure you don't do this next time around in your homeschooling journey?
You know, we have learned a lot, not just through the fun and exciting times, but even through the challenges that we have experienced in our homeschooling, world schooling, world traveling journeys over the last decade plus. And I think the first thing that I would say to myself is start before you're ready. Because so often, especially now, when I hear people saying, oh, yes, I'm thinking about traveling like you do, or homeschooling like you do, but I need to do this first. I need to do that first. I need to get ready. There's never a perfect time. Kind of like, having a child. You could prepare and prepare until the cows come home, and you will never be fully prepared because you don't know what you have to prepare or how to prepare. You don't know what you don't know until you jump in with both feet and just start doing it. Mm-hmm. So I would absolutely tell myself to just start sooner, jump in and do it. Do it now, do it yesterday. Mm-hmm. But even more so than that, I think I would remind myself to stop and clarify what my values are, who am I, and what is it that I really want to accomplish. I have done a lot of continuing education, a lot of training, not just in food and cooking, but as a Montessorian, as an educator. And some of the most valuable lessons that I have gotten have been through the Montessori Foundation. I was able to not only take continuing education classes along the Montessori teachers, Montessori guides journey for directing the learning within like a classroom setting, but also as a Montessori administrator. And in running the school the way that we did, in operating under a framework that looked very different from what people perceived as normal education in the community in which we were operating our school, it was very challenging at times to kind of stand tall against the barrage of, well, this is the way it should be done, or this is the way everybody else is doing things. And the key turning point for us was when we decided to make a stand. We stood tall to say, this is who we are. This is what we believe. This is why we do what we do. That's what's important to us. And when we really came together with a strong sense of clarity like that, not only did it encourage those who were not on the same page to sort of fall away, but it also attracted more like-minded individuals and families to us, to join us in our journey, to support and encourage us along that path. And that continues to be true in our world travels today. When people find us on the different social media platforms, when people happen to land on our website, when people discover our kitchen classroom, I hope what they find is that everything we share, everything we do really comes back to what's important to us, which is family first. Mm-hmm. Fun and food is really just kind of the vehicle through which we're teaching all those amazing things that we're learning in our daily life, no matter where we are on the globe.
So beautiful. And I am so thrilled and grateful to have made this connection. I do not think things are by accident, and this divine time, I'm just thrilled to know you and to have met you and spent this time with you and get to know your heartbeat and just to hear your vision. And I'm thrilled as if, I know this sounds weak, but I'm just as thrilled as, as if I'm there with you. And it's just not the same, but I'm just that excited to see what you're doing and where you are. And I sure wish I could be there with you. honey.
You can. One of the things that I tell people all the time is you might not be literally physically here with us in Albania, but that's why we have opened up our kitchen classroom. It's not just my kitchen. It really is our kitchen classroom. And we welcome everybody to come and join us from their kitchens, wherever they are in the world.
Well, share that with us. That was one of the things we talked about. How can people, I don't think there's too many people who aren't enamored with the idea of traveling and homeschooling and that type of thing. How can they do that, physically or virtually? Share some insights on how to get started or what they can get connected to, Karen.
Well, as I said, for us, this world traveling, this nomadic lifestyle, it really all started during our time at our school, the International Academy of Matsumoto in Japan. That school, that setting, those people, that place, it was all kind of the springboard for what we're doing today. And one of the unique things that we did in our classrooms, in our community events, was to cook together. We took those international families who met with us at our school, at the different community centers and international events. We took them to different places around the world through the foods that we prepared. And the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the language, about the history, about the geography, about the culture, by studying and exploring and sharing and tasting those foods was what first gave us the idea that it could be possible to do so much of what we're doing here today. And so I encourage people, if you are curious, if you do want to travel, if you want to learn more about a place, food is a great way to start. And it's so easy to find different ingredients, to begin to prepare those dishes and kind of take yourself on that journey from your own kitchen.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Girlfriends, you are the average sum of the 5 people you hang out with. In this hour, you have been hanging out with Karen Bricks out of Albania. Hey, keep up the momentum and keep connecting with positive influences. Find some more friends over who are world schooling and connect with them. But, nevertheless, those who are going to be a positive influence into your journey of homeschooling, unschooling, world schooling. And then you be that positive influence that others can draw from. It's a constant give and take. And as I said before on so many shows, we really do need a sister circle, a community like Karen described, a family, that she connected to and helped raise these children up through education in her Montessori school. Connect with people, get connected. So I'm glad you're connected with Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry and Karen. Listen, I am, again, so thrilled to connect with you. And I am just so grateful for your personableness, if that's a word, where we have just chatted just moments before our interview. And I feel just really connected to you. Like, wow, I've known her for a good while. Just that. Thank you for being you and sharing of your wisdom and your knowledge, your insights and your experience as this world schooler. So Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling thanks you and appreciates you for making this impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. So thank you, my friends, my girlfriend. I'm so honored to be connected with you and have this time with you.
I am so honored to have been invited to share a little bit of our journey. And I look forward to being able to share you and your resources with so many other people who are just not sure what homeschooling, a world schooling, an unschooling, any sort of alternative educational lifestyle might look for their family. I think just like the foods that we all love, it's different for every person at every time in their lives. Yeah. And so I am so thankful for resources like you and yours to be able to share with people the beautiful and varied ways that can look So thank you for you.
Yes, yes. My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, girlfriends, guy friends, listen, as always, remember that to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, world school, unschooling, we not only touch a life, we shape the future through our efforts of homeschooling. So keep making a positive impact day after day, year after year. And I'm going to take Karen on her challenge. I'm going to slow it down and learn to love this experience of cooking our food. I have people who are cooks in my home. They love to do it. My girls are in there now baking, you know. Yes, they love it. And so I'm going to slow that down and find out a love and the cooking. And I'm going to let you know what, you know, my love. I'm gonna see if that's gonna become my therapy, Karen. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that insights. And for all of you, again, be sure to share Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. Connect with us on Facebook, Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry. Also on YouTube. Thank you for all the viewers here, and Tumblr, Instagram, and Twitter. Connect with us all those locations. Please find Karen Ricks, our classroom homeschool. Is that what it is? No, no, no. It's our kitchen classroom. That's what it is. Find her on Facebook now. I'm going to be just hunting her down and trolling her like crazy to see what she's doing now that I know her. And so, yes, I will. So again, just wonderful time together. And thank you all for joining us. Until next time and our next interview, peace to you all. And just keep making that positive impact. Take care, everyone. Karen, hold on and just a second.